Today I'm going to show you how to use Google Slides so that you can create a template to make your own Montessori 3-part cards. Now I'm using Google Slides because it's free and it's actually really easy to get things to look the way you want on the screen. So to get started, I'm going to head over to Google Slides and create a blank presentation. Going to give my presentation a name so that I can easily find it later on. I'm going to change the layout to blank. Close out the theme box so I have as much visual space on the screen as possible. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and I'm going to change the dimensions of our the finished product, so that way when we go to print it out, it prints on a regular piece of paper. So I'm going to choose custom, and I'm already in inches, so I'm going to change it to 11 by 8.5. It'll look the same on the screen when we go back to it, but it's the end result that will matter here. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to go over and select View Guides. Okay, I'm using the guides because they will help me position all of my images and text on the screen, but they won't show up on the finished product. And you can double check that by going over to Print Settings and Preview. And I don't want these guides to show up on the finished product because I'm going to use measurements on my paper trimmer to cut my cards apart, so that way I don't have to worry about my borders ending up looking sideways or wonky when I am done. And also, to make it easier to see, I'm going to switch my view over to full screen. Now, this size of paper, I can easily get the 3 sets each of the voice, mute, and label cards. So I am going to add more guidelines. But first, I'm going to slide this guideline over to the 3.5 mark. You can see the ruler up above, but also that black box is telling me where at on the ruler I'm at. So 3.5 inches is good for one set of cards. If I right click, I can go down to guides and add another vertical guide. I'm going to drag this line over to the 7-inch mark. And one final guide, vertical guide. Pull this one over to the 10.5-inch mark. So all of my cards will be 3.5 inches wide, and then I'm only wasting or not using this last 1/2 inch of the page. So now it's time to move our horizontal guides. This one is already in the center, but I know from experience that if I add more horizontal guides, it's going to park it right next to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this one down to the 7.5-inch mark, which will leave us a space for our text, our label, that is 1 inch tall there. So I'm going to add another horizontal guide. I'm going to pull this one up to the 3.25 mark because our halfway point is the 4.25. And those little black boxes are really handy, so you don't have to try and guess using the ruler if you're even or not. So our final horizontal guide is going to go in, and we'll pull that one. It's really close there to the 4.25 mark. So we're going to use, these are the guidelines that we're going to use to set our image space and our text. So I'm going to exit the full screen view, and the next thing I'm going to do is insert a placeholder image. So I'm going to choose Insert Image, and I'm just going to search the web because in this case, I just want a simple square. Do this black box right here. Select and then Insert. Okay, so clearly it's too big, so I'm going to go over to the corner and drag the size down. And then I can pull it up. I'm going to start on this first one. And I'm going to kind of shimmy it into space. I think it's a little too big there. Pull it down a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm using an image as my placeholder because once the template is done and you're ready to put in your own image, it's really easy to swap them out because you click on the square and with lining it up back again because you're already using the space you have created. So now that I've done this, I'm going to right click and I am going to copy this. And Control V will paste it, and that gives us another one. I'm going to drag this one over, and you can see that red line appears. That lets us know that we are lined up in the center. If you aren't sure, if you aren't having any luck moving your shape around with your mouse, you can use your arrows, your up, down, left, and right arrows, and it moves it in small increments, generally smaller than what you can do when you are using the mouse. I'm going to do this one more time, Control V, and drag this one over. And again, you can see that red line is telling us that they're lined up in the middle, and that is looking pretty good. Now we want the same thing on the bottom. So I'm just going to click on one of the boxes, hold my Shift key down, and click the other two boxes. Now I'm going to do a Control C, Control V, and that's going to copy the entire set. All right, and we've got that red vertical line there telling me that all of the boxes are lined up on top of each other. And there we go. That's actually looking pretty good. So next I want to set aside the space for my text. So I'm going to come over here to the text box, click on that, and I'm going to start in this corner and just create a space that's pretty similar to the size that I have set aside for the text. I am going to change the position so that our text is in the middle that way and also in the center of the box. I'm going to just type in the word text, and it's really tiny. So I'm going to make it bold and bigger. Slide this bottom down. There we go. So now we've got something that is floating in the center of our label space. You can change the text to whatever you want, or if you prefer, you can just leave it blank and then handwrite your labels. Whatever works best for you. So we're going to do the same thing with our text boxes that we did with the image boxes, and that is copy, paste, and wiggle into place. So Control C, Control V, whoops, let's try that again. Okay, so this is actually a good thing because now I can show you that if you make a mistake like this and something appears that you don't want, you can go over here, undo the little arrow that goes backwards. So let's try this again. Highlight the text, Control C, Control V. There we go. Text box appears. Now I can wiggle this one down into place. And we'll use the red lines to let us know that it's lined up. Control V one more time. One's harder to see. There we go. Got it lined up. Going to select my 3 text boxes. Let's shift and click Now I can do a Control C to copy all three, Control V to copy the entire set, and then just drag that down. And there you go. You have a template that will give you 3 cards that are 3.5 inches wide and 4.25 inches tall, which is actually a pretty decent size to hold in your hand. Clearly, you can use this technique to make different sizes if you prefer something larger, or if you want to do a different type of printable, like where you don't need text and you just want images. You can use the same technique. When it comes time to get your 3-part cards ready for the shelf, you print this off. You're going to slice this last 1/2 inch off this side. And then you can use the ruler on your paper trimmer and just cut at 3.5 inch increments going this way. You're going to leave one set of cards with the labels attached because that's your voice card, and then the other set you will slice off 1 inch from the end to get your labels separated from the picture so you have your matching work. When it's time to actually make your Montessori 3-part cards, you're going to want to go over to File, Make a Copy. I'll just do an entire presentation because it's just one slide right now. And then you can name your work. Let's say you want to do 3-part cards on dogs. And then you would use your copy to pop in images you want and change your text. So there you have it, a template for 3-part cards. How exactly you go about choosing the images and getting them ready for the template is another story. But for now, this will get you started. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. We'll see you next time, and I hope you are having fun making Montessori.